Welcome everybody to another Learn Squared live stream. You got Nick with Learn Squared here. I am joined by Adam Middleton. Welcome Adam to the show.
Hey Nick, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm really excited to have you on here, and I know that everybody watching the show is too. Guys, you're seeing the results that came out of Adam's new course, Grounded Costume Design. These pictures that you're seeing in the slideshow on your screen right now are some of the deliverables. If you could believe it, not even all the deliverables. There's even more stuff than this that came out of this course. It's a huge course. It's incredible work that Adam has done, and we can't wait to share it with you. So we got a packed show for you today. A whole bunch of fun stuff happening on today's show. We're going to be world premiering the course trailer. For the first time ever, you guys are going to see what the course trailer looks like. You're going to get a sort of a look at what the course is all about. We have Adam here joining us on the show to do a live demonstration of the techniques that are featured in the course. Can't wait for that. And we are going to be talking to Adam all throughout with questions and about either the course or about his career or about the projects he's worked on. So make sure you guys post your questions in the chat throughout the show. We'll be getting to all those questions as we go. And if that's not enough stuff, Adam just a huge project that he's been working on just world premiered as well. So we'll surely be talking about that as well. The upcoming game LAST Sentinel. So all sorts of stuff, exciting stuff on today's show. It's an incredible show. But let's jump into it. Adam, what do you think? Should we show the course trailer to start it all off?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have a look.
All right, here we go. First ever look at the course trailer for Grounded Costume Design.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, LAST Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at learnsquared.com.
There you have it, your first look at Grounded Costume Design. How incredible is that? It's some amazing, amazing work that came out of this course. Adam, you've been really busy.
Yeah, it's been a busy year for sure, but I like being busy and I like doing lots of different things. So it's worked in my favor, I think.
There you go. Stay ambitious, guys. This is a packed course. It's 5 lessons full of all different kinds of stuff. You can see the deliverables on your screen. These are graphic sheets showing off the little tiny details of aspects of a character's costume. You have like a full sort of key art style costume image that shows all of the characters together. One of the things that I think is really cool about this course, before we jump into the course demo itself, Adam, one of the things that I think is really cool here is that you actually show how to do 2 different characters in the course, and the people on screen can see these 2 characters here. Can you talk about, what made you want to have these 2 different characters with each having their own workflow?
Yeah, I really wanted to, I guess right at the start when the idea was floated about doing a course, I sort of gravitated straight away towards focusing it on like costume design, mainly because like that's a lot of what I've been like doing in the industry recently. And I felt like I was at a place where I'd kind of like developed two pretty solid workflows and was kind of ready to share that. And I have like basically a 2D workflow and then a 3D to 2D workflow sort of as well. So both basically like each character is done with each of those methods, and that's pretty much exactly how I work currently in the industry as well. Some briefs require one approach, sometimes they require the other. So it's very much like an up-to-date look at my process for creating designs for the entertainment industry today.
And that's awesome. I mean, you know, the thing that you walk away with that's so valuable in this course is like somebody who takes this course is really going to be getting all of the sort of like latest and most professional possible workflows that are really, you know, being applied. Like all of these different types of deliverables, all these different ways to work on a costume and ways to think about a costume are all things that you're really doing on these huge projects.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's worthwhile noting that I tried, you know, I'm not like a heavy 3D modeler. I'm not like, that's not my main skill set. It's like my skill set's definitely design. So I don't want anyone who like feels put off by the 3D aspect to be worried about that. Like the stuff I do in 3D is like very basic level, I think, and kind of anyone could probably pick it up and create some cool stuff. So if you've never touched 3D before, I feel like you could still get some really cool stuff out of this and dip your toes into that world, because it's yeah, it's definitely 3D is a great tool for helping design and create some really awesome work.
Yeah, I think that that is something that's like really encouraging about the course. Like when I was going through it and seeing the way that you kind of crafted it in this way that, you know, students can start out with a character that doesn't really use almost any 3D. There's some optional parts where you can add 3D elements, and then you know, after that, it's kind of like really be making an accessible way to utilize 3D and not force somebody to kind of like jump in with the most complicated possible thing. Like throughout the course, you kind of encourage this idea of like, let's sort of do it as much as it needs to be to get it done, but it doesn't need to look like a perfect 3D model or whatever that I'm gonna like, you know, make a 3D printed thing of or whatever. Like this is something I'm doing in service of like showing somebody what a costume looks like. And then like being able to use that for 2D paint overs and stuff like that afterwards. I think that's really cool. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to appreciate the way that you have handled using 3D in your course.
Yeah, I think it's like, to me, it's all about how do I get to the end result as sort of fast as possible and like with the best result as well. And sometimes not everything warrants spending the time in 3D. So that's where the 2D workflow is really important. But for sometimes there's like a few key pieces that I think require to be fleshed out in 3D. And that's pretty much kind of how we treat it in this course. I treat it very much like a live brief as I would for any job that I'm working on. And I think that kind of, yeah, I think that's quite important to showcase from like a, you know, a workflow perspective.
Now, before we get into the demo here, just to remind everybody, we're going to be doing a full live demonstration of the techniques featured in the course by Adam. But we got some big news right before that. GT in the chat has pre-ordered the course, says they can't wait. GT, amazing. Thank you so much for pre-ordering. We're so excited to see what you create and enjoy. Enjoy your journey.
Yeah, awesome.
Make sure you guys post, anybody who has pre-ordered the course already or is pre-orders the course during the show, make sure you post in the chat. We would love to celebrate you. Like we just did with GT, I posted a million emojis in that chat. Somebody should really take the emoji button away from me on these streams, but they have not done so yet, so I am running rampant with the emojis here. I want to shout out as well George Burko, who came into the show actually before it even started, camping out like I did 15, 20 years ago for the PlayStation 3 outside of a Target. Camped out for the stream to start. Appreciate the excitement. And to GT, of course, thank you so much for jumping into the course. We're so excited for you. LVLYDAED, welcome into the show as well. GT saying, you guys have never let me down before. Oh, wow. The love on the stream. That's amazing.
No pressure.
So let's jump into the demonstration here. We're gonna jump over to your screen here, Adam. So close all the tabs you don't want to be showing, and and let's do it. So this is we're looking now at Adam's screen uh, of the 3D model that was created. So as you saw in the trailer, there's one of the really interesting things about the trailer, actually, if you guys recall, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that this character actually is the one that we referred to as the 2D character. But we're looking at here is a 3D model of that character. And so what's really cool in the course is that you do create this character fully in 2D using like photo bash and paint over methods and stuff like that. And then after you've created the other character in 3D and learned how to like integrate 3D and all that stuff, Adam goes back and shows like how you can use kind of like a kit bash method of taking pieces from that other 3D costume and also just very simply designing things from this costume as well to then turn that previously 2D only costume into 3D. So you actually leave the course having two characters that are fully modeled in 3D, even though this one creates its initial finished artwork fully in 2D, which is super cool. I think that's such a cool way to structure that, Adam. And can you talk a little bit about like creating kind of like that structure to the course and allowing people to kind of like start off in 2D and then kind of create their models and their turntables?
Yeah, I think like sometimes for me, I still struggle a little bit to like start the design sometimes fully in 3D from zero. So I still think like there's still a definite place for a 2D workflow. And so that's kind of like how I start off in the course, is just like working on this character purely pretty much in 2D. And then a few things I build out in that in the first half of the course is like the helmet and her vest here that we can see. And part of the reason for that is these to me are like quite complex things, and I wanted to sort of resolve them in 3D because basically like in a photo bash method, sometimes you're only as good as the photos you can find. And like for this helmet and this vest, I knew they were quite unique elements. So I wanted to sort of design them myself in 3D. And then basically I could use, like a screenshot of them like this that I could then take back into Photoshop and detail out in 2D. So then towards the end of the course, when I was developing the second character, they share a lot of elements between the two of them because I wanted them to feel like quite consistent. So then I could bring over the pants from the other character and a few other bits and pieces, and then I could like flesh this character out in 3D further, basically allowing us to do like quite a cool little kind of in situ keyframe at the end with both of them.
And I like the way that you describe in the course as well, the way that you use 3D. A lot of times you talk about it in terms of that you're creating this 3D so that you can use the 3D as another photo bash element to basically get like correctly placed shadows and stuff and things like that for your 2D.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like I find it super valuable because like most people potentially that kind of have taken Learn Squared courses in the past are probably familiar with, using photos and things in Photoshop. But sometimes I find like when you really are trying to design something, say like this vest, and, there's like a lot of like form transitions with the curving and how the light plays across that, I find to get the best result possible, it's worth just building a really quick proxy of it in 3D and then basically like painting over that in 2D. And like none of this is like, as you can see from the model, it's not necessarily like a perfect model by any means. There's kind of flip geo everywhere and things, but it's all part of the process, and a lot of my work ends up, its final form is in 2D. So there's always that chance to sort of tidy things up and polish it in 2D. I'm not ever kind of too concerned about making everything perfect in 3D.
And so Adam is going to be doing something that we've actually never tried to do before on a live stream. So Adam, you're breaking new ground here on the Learn Squared platform. But to give you guys a rundown here, and I'll let Adam take it afterwards, but essentially what we're doing on all of our live streams, we actually add the unedited video of what the instructor has created during the stream. We add that to the course itself. So what you guys are seeing, don't worry, sometimes we cut away or cut to the trailer or cut, put graphics up on screen, but the full process video recorded on Adam's computer is going to be available when you get the course. It's going to be one of the pieces of bonus content, so you'll be able to watch that totally uninterrupted. Now, what's a really exciting new thing that Adam's going to be doing is what he's going to be creating on today's show. He's also going to later add like full course narration to it, so that that becomes a part of the guidance part of the course, where it'll actually be added into the main part of the course to help you to create a new type of deliverable that is actually not even covered in the course as it exists at this moment. So the course that's like already out, it's still, as you are watching it now, you are watching the course be made. You're watching the final piece of the course get added. And Adam, can you maybe take us through kind of what the plan is for what you're creating?
Yeah, so often like the back view that I've done for the course currently is for this character, and this is like quite a high level of finish. It's like, as high level of finish as the front view. And obviously for every character, ideally I would love to do a front and a back view to this level of finish basically. But sometimes, you get a front view like this and then the client requires a back view and there isn't necessarily enough time to do something kind of as detailed out as this. So what I will do is basically kind of what I'm doing here is I'll quickly just like repose the character, and I'm going to probably put her in a similar pose to this 2D piece here. And then I'll just basically take a screen grab or a quick render of the design and take it into Photoshop and just do like a draw over to basically like help solidify the design. And then I can just pass that basically onto the client. So we're not necessarily like spending the time to take it to a full render like this, but the client will get all the information they need from the back view. So that's kind of the plan basically. And it's something that I do quite a lot, especially, when time is of the essence on projects.
And it's really interesting the way that you're describing this too, where it's like, because this is now one more totally professional workflow that you're adding to the course, like something that you are doing in your day-to-day like actual job. And one thing a lot of artists I think struggle with is kind of like understanding what level of finish something needs to be brought to, and maybe like feeling a little self-conscious about their stuff and wanting everything to be exactly, the same as like those fully finalized images that we saw in the slideshow earlier that you just showed in Photoshop. And sometimes in a professional setting, like there are different requirements. Sometimes what you're trying to accomplish is different. And one of the examples of how that is really well expressed in the course is you actually go through some of your for the section about the group shots, you show an area, and as well about the costumes, how to properly show off a costume in a piece of artwork, and how that might be different than a piece of key art, which a lot of people are possibly more used to trying to render. And trying to make sure that the shot that you show off, I'm actually going to cut over to Adam's screen of the costumes here in their finished forms. How you can make a shot of the costumes that shows the costume off properly while still having a pose that expresses the character's identity and their personality, but does not obscure the costume. And what that does is that makes it so that people who are working on the movie and need to be kind of like sold on how cool the costume is can be sold on how cool it is, because it looks great and it is really giving you an idea of that character. But for the people who really have to build that costume, they can also use these pictures to get an actual understanding of what the costume is. And there's not a bunch of stuff that's like, lost in shadow or it's so extreme of a pose or a camera angle that you can't even see a certain part of the costume. I think that's a really possibly going to be something that changes a lot of people's perspectives on like how to approach this this discipline. And can you talk about, you have a great part in the course where you talk about how you kind of like learned that lesson with one of your pieces of art from, I believe it was from Ghost in the Shell. Can you talk about that a little bit, Adam?
Yeah, so the story from Ghost in the Shell is that we were tasked with basically like I say we, it was like myself and another designer who I worked at Weta with, Jeremy Hanna. We're basically tasked with like doing this piece for what the patrons of the nightclub and Ghost in the Shell would look like. And we spent basically like a day putting together this image, and it's on my ArtStation, so you can go find it there. But basically, like, it's a pretty straight on shot with all these kind of dudes sitting in this like smoky, quite darkly lit environment. And basically, like, the first thing the director said when he saw the piece was like, "Oh, it's a bit dark," and then like kind of just like moved on. And it kind of learned pretty quickly that like it's not always about trying to do like a really impressive like cinematic keyframe. Like sometimes like you're there basically to create designs and like service the production. And in that case, like what we did, even though it maybe like looked quite cool and cinematic, it really just didn't serve the production. So I feel like it's very important to know the role of like what your piece or your design is doing, and make sure that, you know, if it is a costume design, that it's legible as a costume design. Like I feel, you know, sometimes even I have the inclination to like, you know, push the image too far so it's not, and then it gets to the point where it may look really cinematic with the lighting and things, but like half the costume might be in shadow, so you can't actually understand it, and that just doesn't serve the purpose. So a big part of like where my process is at now is like just trying to make sure the designs are readable, but also like you can still create a cool image, you know, and still have the costume read and look good.
And so I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's sending great questions in the chat. Thank you guys so much for sending your stuff. We're going to be getting to all your questions here. First of all, LVLY saying, thanks guys for shouting out earlier. Thank you for watching the show. We have a question from a couple of people asking about the sort of like doing the clothing and stuff. So Artist Future talking about, do you use Marvelous Designer at all in this course? Or how do you do the clothing in 3D? Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I don't use Marvelous Designer at all in the course. You can, of course, obviously, if you use Marvelous Designer, and I've used it in the past. A lot of the clothing in the course here, some of it's created from scratch. Like this vest is like sculpted in ZBrush and then textured and things. I'm pretty sure part of this top is just like an extruded version of her body that I've added kind of like some wrinkling to. Some of them are like Sketchfab assets, or assets that I've downloaded from TurboSquid, and then I've taken the assets into ZBrush and like sculpted back into them to kind of get my design onto them. So there's like a whole variety of techniques, and the reason that I kind of wanted to showcase it that way is because sometimes like you don't have to just start from scratch every time. And what I mean by that is like if I'm designing a pair of pants and I had a design for them already, it's a much faster for me in a day-to-day job setting to like start from a point where like I could spend a day trying to like model out some pants in Marvelous Designer all perfect, but I can also just buy a pair on TurboSquid for like $10 and then sculpt into them myself with the design I actually want. So that's kind of like part of my workflow, is like trying to find the fastest route to get to the end result, and the end result's kind of pretty much still the same. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. But obviously you could, if you're familiar with Marvelous Designer and like creating everything from scratch, of course, but this is kind of a little bit geared towards more of a concept art workflow. And in that sense, I feel like I use 3D assets a little bit like you might use pieces of photos when you're photo bashing in 2D.
And I want to kind of like highlight as well that there are particular pieces of software that Adam uses in the course. You can see that here that we're using Blender and that Photoshop is used, but like ultimately, yeah, the course is about a larger subject than like the software. And I think that's something we always try to encourage in our courses, is like the instructor may be using like a particular piece of software, but like ultimately whatever you want to use is fine, you know, as long as it accomplishes that goal. And you know, that ultimately, like what Adam is teaching is like, how can you do these workflows that are going to help you in a professional setting or on whatever projects you're working on. And when you really are on a project, that is the kind of the answer, you know. It's like, unless they're kind of like assigning you to use a particular piece of software, it's really kind of like about figuring things out and using whatever means that you have available and whatever you can. So I
I think
think like
this is like a perfect example here. Sorry to interrupt, but
no,
like
no, no.
this, you can see here, like on her pants, like they're both kind of weirdly warped, because I realized when I brought her in to do the key image that her design was flipped. So I've like done like a really quick and dirty sculpting job to like lift her pants up. But then this is just like a little bit of a section from the male character. So it's like even just a separate mesh. And like I'm literally just gonna like lay that over the top of her pant, and just like use that for my render. You can see there, it's just like I'm just gonna drop that in. And you can see from like a 3D viewport, it's pretty much doing exactly what we want, because I want this look of like the pant going all the way to the ground, basically. So I'm not really too concerned that it's not necessarily like joined or perfectly kind of modeled or anything like that, because I tidy all that up in 3D. And at the end of the day, like if this was a real project, this piece of art isn't the end result. The end result is what the character artist would create, which would go in the game, or what the costume designers team would then build and put into the movie. So it's all just a means to an end, basically.
And Artist Future saying thank you for your time, and it's great to learn this way. And I'm glad that you think so. I'm glad that you agree, because yeah, like going through the course, it feels very like liberating. Like it's encouraging whatever kind of like style you want to use, whatever software you want to use. But then also like for people who are less comfortable with 3D, it kind of gives you a lot of outs where you can sort of like hold off on doing 3D if you don't feel as comfortable with it until later. Or I think it's even possible to complete the entire course in 2D if you really, really wanted to. Um, but like the course kind of like tries to keep things avenues open for like whatever types of software or whatever types of workflows that you kind of prefer to use, and it's giving you the tools to do everything. But it is very kind of like accessible to whoever wants to try and use it. And I jumped over back to Adam's past work screen here because Carfox mentioned that they love there's like a huge diversity of types of characters that you have created. And just looking at some of these images here, we go from like, Timothy Chalamet in Dune to like the people from Arrakis to a Navi to like a robot, different cyborg people. Like you've definitely worked on costumes for like all different, even like different, people from different planets and stuff. Like how does that kind of change the sort of the process of draping costumes on people and creating their identities like that?
I feel like I think costume design is costume design, like no matter necessarily what world you're in or what time period. I think a lot of a lot of the things that I think about, especially at the start when I'm kind of taking on a new brief, are all very much kind of like the same. And it's all about trying to understand, like for me, where the character is at like what point in the story, what their environment is that they inhabit, and like what level of like technology they have access to, and that would inform like what their costume would look like as well. So it's something I try and talk about during the course, is like, just because this is kind of like the setting and environment and type of characters that I'm doing, obviously I want you guys to like push yourselves and do what you want to do as well. And like hopefully a lot of the techniques and things like are kind of universal and translate across. Like just because I'm doing like a pilot and a kind of technician in the snow doesn't mean the techniques and things wouldn't work for a like historical fantasy character in like more of a Game of Thrones universe or something like that. So but yes, I feel like I'm very fortunate to have worked on the things that I have worked on, and it's like I've tried to take all the knowledge from that and put it into this.
And it's just an overwhelming amount of amazing stuff on these slideshows of the images from the course and also images from your past work. For anybody who's just joining the stream, what we're doing here is we're premiering. This is the first ever full look at Adam Middleton's brand new Learn Squared course called Grounded Costume Design. He's sharing all the techniques that he uses on some of the industry's biggest projects to create some really incredible costumes that feel lived in and feel like they really exist in whatever world they're inhabiting. as you know, the work kind of speaks for itself as you're seeing on this slideshow here. So we are showing off the course. We actually have Adam here on the show doing a live demonstration during the stream of the techniques that are featured in the course. You guys can ask whatever questions you want to know about the work that Adam's done, or about the course itself, about the techniques that he uses. We're here to answer those all throughout the show, so post those in the YouTube chat below. And of course, the actual course, Grounded Costume Design, is up on the Learn Squared site right now. So you can go pre-order that. Anybody who is interested in really upping their costume game and wants to really do something great for themselves. And, you know, this holiday season, what better time, right, to learn a new skill. So go check that out on the Learn Squared site. And for anybody who's just joining the show, maybe the best way to explain what this course is all about is to go check out that course trailer. So let's take another look at the trailer for Grounded Costume Design, and we'll be right back with more live demonstration after that.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, Last Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at learnsquared.com.
Guys, Grounded Costume Design is available for pre-order on the Learn Squared site right now. The course comes out on December 20th, so it is less than 2 weeks away. It is coming up pretty soon. Make sure you guys get your pre-orders in. Secure your spots now for the course. As you can see in the slideshow on your screen or in the trailer that you just watched, it is a pretty incredible set of techniques and a pretty incredible set of artwork that came out of it. So there's a whole lot of learning going on once you take this thing. We're really excited to see what you guys make. Now, I want to get in one more question from the chat as well. Logan Pinney in the chat asking, can people with 0 Blender skills still join in on the course? And that's a great question, because that's something that we really wanted to make sure to focus on and make sure to cater to. So just to start out, I will say absolutely yes. And it will help you to kind of like ease into using Blender. And I will now throw that question to Adam. Adam, can you talk a little bit about if somebody has no experience in Blender, you know, what would be their kind of like process for getting into this course?
Yeah, I feel like you can definitely probably follow through with it. One thing I sort of talk about as well on the course about the benefits of Blender and the fact that it's a free piece of software is that there's so much free resource for it online, just on YouTube. And I kind of talk about the fact of like, if you ever get into any technical problems, pretty much everyone's got into the same problem, and they've probably put a video out about it on YouTube. So I don't really dive too much into, you know, like this is not a comprehensive how-to course on Blender, but I start off with like the basic tips and tricks that I use in Blender and how they relate to sort of the design process. And then I sort of leave it, and then it's kind of like up to you. And if you come and, if you want to take things further, and there's a wealth of resource online for that as well. But the techniques and things that I use, I think are pretty basic. I mean, I've seen people do a lot more complicated things in Blender. And I kind of like, I'm a designer at the end of the day. I'm not a 3D modeler. So anything that I'm kind of bringing to it is from purely a design standpoint. And like, that's why sometimes the things that I'm doing are maybe a little bit unorthodox, or not maybe the quote unquote proper way to do things. But for me, it's all about like the end result is the piece of design, not necessarily kind of like a perfect 3D model. So in that sense, it's very much kind of like a little bit of a fast and loose workflow in 3D. But it also, if you're familiar with other 3D packages like Modo or Maya, a lot of the things would be relevant for those programs as well. You don't necessarily have to use Blender if you don't want to.
Yeah, it's another example of where, like, as the student, whatever you prefer to use to accomplish the design that you're trying to make is totally supported in the course. And yeah, just to build on that as well, like everything that Adam is going to do in the course is covered as far as like how to use Blender to the extent that Adam's using it. Like, that's all covered in the course. So you'll be totally fine to, if you want to create costumes of the quality that you're seeing on screen, you will be all good. And I don't think there's really any quality higher than what you're seeing on screen. This is like incredible stuff. So it just goes to show that, like, if you want to like be somebody who's like good at Blender or like knows everything about Blender, that's something different. But like, if you have an objective in mind and you're using it in order to achieve a goal, then you don't need to know as much as you might think about that piece of software. And Adam talks about that in the course, about using the software only as far as it needs in order to like actually get you to where you want to be. So hopefully that also answers your question. And thank you again for the question to Logan Pinney. Now, Adam, before we jump back into the demo, I want to talk about another really exciting thing, a piece of news for you. Are we cool to talk about Last Sentinel a little bit?
Yeah, we can definitely have a chat about that.
That's you got to be pretty excited to finally like show that to the world. Adam has been working on this game, Last Sentinel, for, you said it was like 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's it might not be quite, it's almost, maybe like 20 months or so. But basically, like, this was when I left with a workshop, this was the project that I started working on. And I feel very fortunate to be part of the team. And it's been one of the best projects that I've ever worked on, I think, from just like a purely enjoyment factor. It's like the subject matters perfectly aligns with the stuff that I usually like to do. So yeah, it's like a really basically, perfect storm, really. And it was awesome to see the trailer premiere during the Game Awards last week. Pretty surreal, actually pretty surreal experience, to be honest. So yeah, I'm very, very honored to be a part of it. And I guess, like, there will be more in the future, but for now, the trailer's out, and I encourage you guys to go take a look at it.
So we're playing, we're showing screenshots, and also I just switched over to like video of the trailer here. You worked on a lot of the characters and costumes that are appearing in this trailer, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk about like which characters that you've worked on?
So basically every character that you see in the trailer, I've worked on.
Wow.
From a design standpoint. The one exception is probably Hiromi, which is the lead character that comes through the door on her bike now. Here she comes. And Eve Ventura and I sort of collaborated on that design. But everything else, the policeman, the robots, the child and things, are all designs that I've done. And
so this is like perfect timing. It couldn't be a better timing here to talk about exactly how, like, what you are teaching in the course is like stuff that you are using on your most current projects and stuff. Like you were telling me before the stream that like some of the workflows that you're doing that you're teaching in the course are like things that you're really using not only on the projects that we showed earlier, but also when you're working on this.
Yeah, No, definitely. It's like as I said kind of earlier, it's like this course is definitely my up-to-date workflow. Obviously, I've recorded the course over the last six or so months basically, and that's obviously, I've been working during that time as well, and it's very much like exactly the way I work, not only on this game project but other freelance jobs and things as well. So a lot of the work that you've seen as well being shown on the slideshow from Avatar and Dune and things use the same techniques that I showcase in this course. So yeah, it's definitely like, yeah, finger on the pulse of kind of like how I'm working at the moment.
It looks amazing. All the characters are incredible in there, and it's a cool world. I can't wait to find out more about it. I love the policeman with the sort of samurai looking helmets.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun, and I think, having the opportunity to kind of design not only like one character. It's like interesting because when I've come from a place working which was Weta Workshop, where you're kind of like a Weta Workshop design studio functions as like a third party design vendor. So quite often clients like costume designers or other people in games would come to Weta to help design things for their film or TV series or things. But to me, I always felt like I really wanted to be involved in a production, and then this opportunity came along, and I sort of jumped at it. And yeah, I've really enjoyed being like ingrained in the production, even though I live in New Zealand and the studio's in LA. I just work remotely, and it's yeah, I feel like definitely part of the team, and the team's incredible as well. And obviously, like, none of these designs would look anywhere near as good as I could never make that look this good as the team do, that, the character artists and everything as well. So it's a huge kind of like collaborative effort to get to something like that. But yeah, it's just awesome to be a part of.
It's amazing work, and we're also excited to that it's announced, and we're excited to find out more whenever that comes. We got a bunch of very, very excited people in the chat as well. LVLY saying, as a fan of Adam's designs, I had to place a pre-order. And that means that I got to post a bunch of emojis in this chat. Excuse me while my mouse makes a bunch of clicking noises. Thank you so much, LVLY. And we're so excited to see what you create. Enjoy your journey into the world of grounded costume design. Fasale Lafia, good to see you on the show. No surprise. Is there a surprise this time, like a hidden thing if pre-ordered? Well, so what's interesting about this is that we actually do have a fun extra thing, of course, right? So what is happening here is that the video that you're seeing recorded on during the live stream, this is a live demo that we're doing. Adam's recording the video as we do the stream and is actually going to narrate on top of it later to create like a concise narrated instructional video that will be added to the main element of the course. So what you're seeing on the stream is something we've never done before, which is actually creating the last piece of the course live on the broadcast. So there's a nice little surprise for you. That's a fun thing. Welcome Fasali Lafia into the show as well. Good to see you. Some drawings saying, love your designs, Adam. Always an inspiration. And LVLY saying as well, congratulations on the announcement of the game, and it's cool that it's ex-GTA team. That's right. The lead of the studio is was previously with Rockstar. So that's
it's basically a whole new studio put together to build this game. So there's a lot of people that have worked obviously in a whole variety of different gaming companies, and then there's also people like me who predominantly maybe like have had more of a film background in the past and have sort of transitioned across. But the techniques and the design process is still the design process. So I've tried to bring some of that like film cinematic knowledge that I've had for working on some of the other projects and try and bring that into this game world as well, and hopefully we can make something really cool.
Well, all right, and so just for anybody who is just joining the show, we're jumping back into the demonstration here. What we're doing on today's program is we are announcing a brand new course, Grounded Costume Design, from instructor Adam Middleton. And let's jump back over here to see what Adam's created for the course. These images you're seeing on screen are some of the final results, some of the deliverables that came from this course. You're seeing his incredible attention to detail and meticulousness in creating costumes that really feel like they're lived in and really feel like they're a part of a world. And so that's what makes them the, the grounded, very important, and the grounded costume design ethos. So we are showing off this course and talking about it for the first time ever here. We are doing a live demonstration with instructor Adam Middleton on today's show. So make sure you post your comments or questions in the YouTube chat there. Anything you want to know about Adam's work, about his workflows, about his techniques, or about the course itself, make sure you post that, because we're here to answer your questions during today's broadcast. I want to mention as well a fun little thing that we only recently just kind of launched, but people who are subscribers to our Patreon actually got an early sneak preview of the course. We did a comprehensive kind of deep dive into what this course is all about earlier this week, exclusively for Patreon members, so that they could kind of get a look at everything that's in the course and kind of really learn a lot about it. And in addition, Patreon subscribers got a early availability to pre-order the course. So a bunch of goodies on that Patreon. There's deals and discounts on the Patreon. We give looks at videos, some like pieces of videos from courses and artwork from instructors. So go check out the Learn Squared Patreon. It is patreon.com/learnsquared if you want to find out more. Now you can see here that Adam's working here in Blender, working on with the model of one of the characters that he had created for the course, and it looks like you're changing up the placement of the kind of like a lifeline apparatus thing that the pilot uses. Can you talk us through a little bit about what you're planning?
Yeah, well, initially I was kind of just going to sort of mirror this pose, but in reverse. But then I have this prop built from another portion of the course, and I was like, oh, maybe it's kind of interesting if she's just like holding it, resting against her leg. So I kind of like the idea of getting the prop into this back view as well, because we don't have it in the front view. So I'm just sort of like basically, I don't know if this will actually work. I'm just experimenting live as we do this, but I thought it could be kind of interesting to have her sort of like holding this and have it kind of leaning against her leg basically as she's kind of standing there, just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. So yeah, we'll see if it works or not.
I love that. We're doing a live experimentation, but that's all design really is, right? It's like it's a series of experimentations until you find something cool.
Totally. And that's like, there's a lot of that in this course as well, of like, sometimes I explore things and they don't work. And I think that's really important to show. I don't want the course to just be like super polished and everything goes perfectly. Like sometimes things don't. And there's like also a point during the course where I kind of like seek out a little bit of feedback from some of my colleagues as well, which is something that, I do very much on like a daily basis on work that isn't obviously like wrapped up in NDAs, but I feel like the sharing and the collaborative aspect is something that I loved working in a studio at Weta. So I wanted to try and like retain a bit of that when I, now that I work at home. So that's something that I think is quite interesting, and hopefully, something that's a bit new as well.
I think that's a really powerful part of the course is the idea of encouraging the student as well to do this. And not only do you talk about like now's a good time to maybe like seek out feedback or maybe try to ask for these kinds of things or whatever, but Adam actually includes the kind of like little video presentation that he sent to his colleagues that is literally the video that he sent them, saying like, here's what I have, here's what I'm thinking, here's kind of like the inspirations for it, like what do you think of this, what do you think of that, so that as the student you get a real impression of like not only when to ask for help and what kind of questions to ask, but like truly like how a real professional person seeks that help out and how they structure the way that they're asking the questions. And then Adam also shows the real examples of what those people said. And those colleagues did like paint overs and suggestions and stuff, like visual suggestions on the costume. And you can see that as well. So you really get kind of like a full 360-degree view on kind of like how Adam goes about seeking seeking advice and looking for feedback about his work. I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think it's so much a part of like how I worked for so long when I was at Weta was, we would always throw work back and forth. And I think it's like really important to not like have an ego or anything when it comes to that, because sometimes like, some fresh eyes can really like push the design forward. And I think like this course is a perfect example, as you'll see when you get up to that point. Is like I was sort of, I needed some fresh eyes, and the advice of, Tahiwi, Tom, and Jeremy was like definitely push my design forward. And it's not necessarily about holding everything close, and I think the more you share it, like the better you get. And you'll always come across some unexpected things in a feedback loop like that as well, that you may never have thought of, and always, I think, can help elevate the design.
And so we have a question as well from LVLY in here as well. A great question. Have you tried to use VR tools like Medium or Gravity Sketch for your designs?
The answer is yes. I used to use VR a lot when I was still at Weta. I don't have a VR headset now, so I haven't used it since then. But yeah, I used to love doing a lot of stuff in VR. And some of the stuff that's on my ArtStation has been done in VR, like some of those robotic arms for Mortal Kombat and things as well. So yeah, for me, it's just like another tool in the tool set. But unfortunately, I haven't got a VR headset at the moment, so I haven't done anything recently. But yeah, it's also, I love it. I love VR stuff. I love working in VR.
It's an exciting field, VR. It's definitely maybe one of the things that is the most kind of like, I feel like I'm in the future type of experiences that you can have.
Yeah, for sure. And you look super weird when you're sitting at your desk in a studio full of people on a VR headset. I was that weird guy.
I imagine. Yeah, I've definitely been in a studio before where people would also play pranks on the person who is in VR, which I don't recommend that for professional environments. Maybe once in a while, but we have, so we have some drawings saying, I often go back and look at the hacking box that you designed for Ghost in the Shell. Do you go into props at all in the course? Another great question. First of all, thank you, LVLY, for the previous excellent question. Some drawings, thank you for that great question as well. Yes, props are covered in the course. Of course, that's not necessarily the focus of what we're doing, but Adam does go into prop design in a few chapters, actually, during the course. And you can actually see one of the props that was created for the course right here, this one that the pilot's messing with. And so one of the things that you mentioned that I think is really cool, Adam, is that I think you talk about how a prop can also help to kind of like ground that costume or make you further understand that character. You talk about a piece of reference that you had for like I believe it was like a kind of space age astronaut guy, like maybe from the 60s, who had like a tube that was running from his back into like some kind of box on the ground. And you thought that was so cool that you wanted to kind of like incorporate that somehow into your own design, which is sort of how you, during the course, arrive at this idea for this. And can you talk a little bit about how like prop design might play into your costume designs?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the work that I did previously when I was at Weta was like prop and weapon design. So it's something that I've like contributed a lot to, and I've done a lot of it in my time. Not all, like obviously not all of it I can show online, but it's definitely something that we've done a lot of. And also, but when we're obviously working at Weta, Weta is also like a physical manufacturing studio. So a lot of the time, the props that we were designing would be physically manufactured in the studio there as well, which was awesome. It was just kind of like never a cooler feeling than picking up something that you've designed that's been turned into a prop. So I touch on that a little bit in this course. This is kind of like one of the things. And Nick's bang on. I found this like photo of I think he's like a test pilot for like one of those high altitude aircrafts, and he just had this like sort of nondescript box sitting behind him on the tarmac, and like a pipe or like a cable going up into his flight vest, and I just kind of wanted to do like our version of that basically. And I always think if you can design a character, sometimes in the brief they'll have a prop or a weapon that they carry, and sometimes they won't. And in those cases, sometimes you can just invent something. But I always think it's nice to try and like give a character something that sort of, can say a little bit more about who they are. There's some very obvious examples of that sort of in entertainment with, like Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, or I talk about sort of Aragorn's character arc as well a little bit in the course, and like how his swords go through an evolution. So the swords sort of a bit of a metaphor for his character throughout the movie as well. So the costumes and props that are sort of, they are definitely an extension of your character, and they tell as much of a story as sometimes the words that are coming out of their mouth. So I think it's an important thing to think about.
I'm glad you mentioned the Aragorn stuff. I thought that was such a great during the course, as Adam was talking about, like he goes into kind of like case studies of ways to approach the idea of costume design and what some great examples of costume design were in the past. And there's an excellent case study during the course showing the evolution of Aragorn's costume during the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and how the subtle changes occur throughout the costume, and how that impacts who that character is, and talking about how even the first time you see Aragorn, maybe even especially the first time you see Aragorn, that his costume is not, like right off the shelf new costume. It's like he's been living out in the wild for years, and it's all, ground up on the edges, and there's dirt all over the, cape and stuff. And I feel like that philosophy so perfectly encapsulates how you seem to kind of like think about costumes.
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than watching a science fiction or fantasy show and the costumes are perfectly clean, unless it warrants it, of course, if they're like a high-end person and they have they live in a clean environment. But so often that really like takes me out of like the media that I'm watching if something isn't like grounded in the environment. So I think especially when you look back at some of those films, and I use the Lord of the Rings example a lot, like those costumes they don't feel like costumes to me. They feel, like that's what that person wears. And that's always something I want to try and bring to my work. I don't know if I'm always successful at it, but I never want to make it feel like a costume that you would, like a costume to me almost is something that you wear at Halloween, like I really want it to feel like just clothing, just an outfit basically. And like character evolution doesn't have to be such dramatic changes in their costume as well. Like the Aragorn example, like the shifts are very subtle, and he just sort of like adds things to his clothing as he sort of progresses through those movies. But all of it helps tell the story and enhance the character arc that he's on. So that's something I think is important to always know, sort of at what point of the story your character is at, and when you're designing them, at what point they're at as well, so you can kind of reflect that in the design.
And before we move on to another thing, I just have to throw in there too that like I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and you during your case study of Aragorn stuff, you mentioned what I always thought was just a brilliant piece of kind of like visuals or sort of like costume storytelling, where he at the end of the first movie he incorporates Boromir's gauntlets onto his costume. And I don't know if anybody who watches the trailer, I made sure to include that, like the part where he's like outlining the gauntlets in the trailer. That's my little Easter egg.
I reckon that is like one of the most genius pieces of costume design I've ever seen. And it took me a while to notice it. Like I was obviously a lot younger when the movies came out, but when I did, I was like, oh, it's so clever. And you also see like slowly red starts getting introduced into his costume as well. And then by the end of the third movie, he's got like a full royal blue and red outfit on. But it's just subtle things like that, subtle transitions which help kind of like push the character along.
And so thank you to Some Drawings for the excellent question. I hope that your original question was about props, and so I hope that answers that. Yes, it does cover props, and thank you for also giving us an excuse to talk about Lord of the Rings for a little bit. Artist Future has another great question. Guys, you're asking a lot of great questions on here. Before we get to your question, actually, Artist Future, um, I want to remind everybody that we have Adam here for a live demonstration, and everybody's asking amazing questions. But I just want to reiterate to maybe anybody who's just joining the show, now is your chance to really ask our instructor, Adam Middleton, whatever questions you want to know about his artwork, past work that he's done, about the work that he's doing right now, about the work that's in the course, about what's covered in the course, anything you want to know. This is your chance to really, get in and learn whatever you want to know about the course or about Adam. So make sure you post those comments or questions in the chat. We're getting to all of those throughout the show. And thank you to everybody who's asking great questions and who has asked great questions already. So now, Artist Future, excellent question here as well. Adam, how did you get started in the industry? Did you go to school or are you self-taught? And I just want to mention as well that Adam has an excellent chapter in the course that not only highlights his kind of like start as an artist, like how he got into art and things like that, but his education and then like early work and then early professional work, and it really goes in and shows you the trajectory of how he has become who he is today. And I know that for a lot of us, any of you guys who want to break into the industry, I that's like a really valuable resource. So that was an excellent chapter that you recorded, Adam. Great job with that. But yeah, so to get to Artist Future's question, how did you get started in the industry? Did you go to school or are you self-taught?
So basically, like we're going to go back to Lord of the Rings for a second, but I think every good story starts with Lord of the Rings. When those movies came out, I grew up in Wellington, in New Zealand, which is where those movies were filmed and sort of the home of Peter Jackson's sort of film empire, Weta Workshop, Weta Digital, and things like that. So I was kind of like at the perfect age. I think it's actually 10 years ago, probably almost to the day that Return of the King came out. So I was, wow. 20 years, not 10 years. And then I basically, like, one day I was at a bookshop with my family and I came across the Art of Return of the King book, and I had this like epiphany moment where I realized that people could sort of draw swords and like this made up stuff for a job. It was kind of had never clicked before that people had to come up with stuff that you saw in the movies. And from that day forth, I was pretty much set at working. I really wanted to work at Weta Workshop, who were involved in those movies. And basically, so kind of long story short, I went through high school and all of that. And then I decided to enroll at a university in Wellington, Massey University, with the hope of, going through the 4 years there, having a portfolio that I could eventually kind of apply to work at Weta. And it became pretty clear to me back then, after the first year at Massey, that it wasn't necessarily going to fast track me towards the career I wanted. And it was mainly because like concept art and concept design just wasn't really on anyone's radar there. I say that like it is now, like they have concept art courses at Massey University now, so things have changed, and obviously I don't want to like talk badly on that. But back then, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, there was just nothing. So I unenrolled from university and took a year off to basically kind of like teach myself and put together a portfolio. And during that time, I did a bunch of online courses very similar to this one here. So my kind of like education, I guess, is from online courses. So I did some digital painting ones, some life drawing ones. I did a creature design one, ZBrush creature design one with a designer, Andrew Baker, who at the time was the lead creature designer at Weta Workshop, and he designed Smaug and a lot of other kind of quite notable designs on The Hobbit. Anyway, basically I did those courses, and then I put together a portfolio. And I just kept sending it into Weta Workshop, and then eventually they caved or had enough of me and basically said, we'll give you kind of like a work experience trial pretty much. And then I was there for 8 years after that. So it just carried on basically, and was obviously very fortunate to work alongside some people that I think, I would classify as like, industry heavy hitters basically, and learned a lot being a junior artist in that design team. It was kind of like I always say it was like the best concept design boot camp you could have, being in that team, having to put work into the Dropbox alongside artists like Aaron Beck or Nick Keller. Was always like a very daunting thing to do, but I feel like it helped me get a lot better very quickly. And then, so then I worked at Weta for 8 years, and then left, and now I work on the Last Sentinel, Lightspeed LA. So that's kind of like how I got into the industry. And a lot of that time has been spent at Weta Workshop, and in that time I also freelanced on a variety of projects as well. So but Weta is kind of like, it's a big part of my professional career for sure, working there.
That's what's really, and I think is a beautiful thing that you mention in the course, is that, like, using online courses was such an important part of your kind of origin story, that you realized eventually that it's like, okay, I'm going to have to kind of take this into my own hands and use these online courses, that you mentioned in the course. Like, this is almost like your way of giving back for all of the great value that you've gotten out of online courses for your career, that you're now trying to do that for other people by making an online course yourself.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And like, sometimes it wasn't even like as specific as, a full course. I remember back then a lot of artists were doing Gumroads. Like, I learned a lot from like Mache's Gumroads and other people like that. So I feel like, there's a wealth of information online, and obviously the breadth of topics that are covered on Learn Squared is amazing. And I feel like I really wanted to do a course that was very specific on one thing, and I could kind of like give all my knowledge on that topic. And costume design is something that I've kind of been more just doing a lot of, basically. Like, it's just, people come to me for that, for costume design work. So I feel like it's a good thing to kind of, like, I feel like I can talk about it quite easily. So that's kind of why I chose that to be like what I did the course on.
Well, we're all really glad that you did. Guys, what we're talking about on today's show is Grounded Costume Design. It's a brand new online course from instructor Adam Middleton, who is here on today's show doing a live demonstration of the techniques he teaches in the course. So make sure you post your questions or comments in the chat. We've been answering questions, all stream. So definitely, whatever you want to know about the course itself, about Adam's work, about any of the different kind of like techniques that are covered, make sure you post those in the chat. We'll be getting to those on the show. I think for anybody who maybe is just joining the show, though, let's go take another look at that course trailer. So maybe that's the best way to kind of explain everything that this course is all about. So let's go take a look at that course trailer. We'll be right back with more of the live demonstration and interview with Adam coming up in just a second.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, Last Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at learnsquared.com.
Guys, grounded costume design is available for pre-order right now on the Learn Squared site. If you head over to learnsquared.com, you can find it as the newest course in our course listing. It just posted up on the site right now. So get over there, get your pre-orders in, secure your spot for the course. Grounded costume design is launching on December 20th. So it's coming out pretty soon. There's a little bit of a... we got a lot of courses this year. This is pretty exciting. This is exciting. I am so excited to be able to show you guys, all the hard work that has gone into this course and be able to share with you all the amazing artwork that Adam has created. So head over to the Learn Squared site, get your pre-orders in, and get your questions in the chat. We have a lot of great people asking questions and stuff. So make sure you ask us anything you want to know. So let's jump back over to the remote feed here and take a look at what Adam's doing on that computer. And so let's, while we're doing that, I am going to post, just before we get to any more questions, which, and again, we have a lot of great questions. I'm always so impressed by the how many great questions we have. I want to mention that a new thing that we've been doing is Patreon. Learn Squared now has a Patreon page, and for anybody who is like extra excited about Learn Squared stuff or wants to know about things before they're announced, for example, we did a like comprehensive breakdown of Adam's course earlier in the week, and showed you guys kind of like everything that this course is all about on the Patreon early. Patreon subscribers also had early access to pre-order the course. There are exclusive deals and like monthly discounts and stuff on things, as well as some looks into like actual course videos sometimes. So there's all sorts of things on that Patreon. You could go check it out for yourselves right now. Patreon.com/learnsquared. So let's get into some of these questions. We got a lot of great ones here. I really like this one here from Thomas Oates. Welcome, Thomas Oates, to the show, saying, Adam, why do you beat up your designs so much? Have you ever designed a clean costume with no breakdown?
No, it's impossible. Tom's one of the people that I seek feedback from in the course as well. So yeah, he's an amazing designer who is working at Weta at the moment, but he did a lot of the amazing design work on the Creator film that just came out, and as well as Avatar and things as well. So he's one of the designers that I talk to every day, and whose opinion I value heaps when it comes to feedback and things. So yeah, awesome. Yes, but to answer Tom's question, no, every design needs a little bit of breakdown, I think.
A little bit of breakdown. Every, all these characters they're going about their lives. They're doing stuff. This lady here is like a pilot working in a frozen tundra. There's no way that costume is not going to get broken down somehow.
Exactly. I mean, I live in a cleanish house, and even my shoes have dirt and dust on them. So imagine what these people would have. That's what I always think.
You're sort of like a method costume designer.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Thomas Oates, for the question, and we're happy to have you in the stream. Mauricio Cale saying, Adam, are there any Blender add-ons or helpful or important to your process, such as for rigging or posing?
One of the ones I've actually got open right here, I haven't used it on this design, but I do use it in the course, is the Mixamo control rig. And basically, one of the workflows, I go through two workflows when it comes to rigging a design. One is kind of like the manual method of aligning the meta rig, which is this thing here, human meta rig, to the design in Blender. And then another one is I just export my T-pose character and upload it to Mixamo, which is a free program online if you have an Adobe subscription, and they auto rig your design for you, and then you can actually download that with a whole variety of different animations or poses as well. So that's definitely one of the ways that I kind of like go when it comes to rigging as well. Can be a much faster way as well. So yeah, mix ammo control rig. And then I don't think I use too many other add-ons. Sketchfab's a really great one for importing stuff directly into the Blender viewport, as opposed to having to sort of like download it through the website and then import. So I use that one as well. And then I use, I think I use this atmosphere one for sunlight as well. But I try not to use too many add-ons. I try and make it kind of, as sort of straightforward as possible. So yeah, nothing kind of, no crazy kind of tricks like that.
There you go. Thank you to Mauricio Cale for the question. And we have, Artist Future saying thank you for answering the question earlier. Thank you, Artist Future, asking some great questions on here already. We have, Laksa saying that you name drop Aaron Beck, that they also really like Aaron Beck. We all really like Aaron Beck too. MW Vanderwalt saying, man, I wish I could take 3 months off and just do all the Learn Squared courses. Don't we all?
Yeah.
There's that's the thing. You gotta take that little sabbatical and just do all the courses in one big marathon. You could get some kind of like big, visual display like Ozymandias and Watchmen, and just put one course on each monitor and watch them all at the same time. See, that's a little pro tip from me. You won't learn anything, but you'll see a lot of things. Thank you, MW Vanderwall, for the enthusiasm. Yeah, MW saying also so many courses and everything that I want to do. That's we're really excited to hear that enthusiasm, and thank you to everybody for the excitement. Like it's really cool to see how many people turn out and it really are like so positive and excited. I always mention it on these streams that like the Learn Squared audience is kind of like a unicorn within the internet community, where it's like a chat room full of people and like comment section full of people that are like all positive, and that's pretty rare. But I think that part of that is like we just have such an amazing community of people who are all like sharing their work and helping each other out, and the people who post their homework on the Learn Squared site and other people who comment on it and things like that. Like cheering each other on is I think such a valuable thing in terms of like growing as an artist. It can be very competitive. It can be very sometimes lonely if you're working in isolation or remotely. And the way that people kind of like come together on the Learn Squared site and in the Learn Squared community is really cool. So thank you to everybody who is a part of that community and who's participating in the stream and participating in the courses. Keep being amazing, and thank you. Thank you for being amazing. MW Vanderwall saying, I have a 55-inch TV. It sounds like a good idea. Ooh, please send us a photo of that of that setup once you get that set up. I'm excited. We also have so JR has a great question that I think a lot of students will be wondering. That we made sure to try to address this in the course. Do you have to use 3D for the class, or is 2D okay? And I'll just jump in there by saying there's 2 characters in the course. The first one you can do entirely in 2D. The second one, Adam chooses to do mostly in 3D, but I think you could technically still achieve the character's result by using the same 2D methods that are taught for that first character. So essentially the answer is yes, you can do everything in 2D, everything except I guess for the turntable, which is like a 3D render. But the thing in the course is that Adam does mention a few times, like, it is strongly recommended that you try to use 3D for some of it at least, because it basically his justification of that is like, you may find that you can accomplish a lot of the things you would previously have done in 2D a lot faster, a lot more efficiently, and you might just find something you enjoy. So a course is a great place to kind of like experiment with things that are outside of a professional setting and are sort of like getting you ready for things without the pressure of like, a deadline or working on a project that people are like breathing down your neck for. So it's always fun to try some new things. But yes, you can do the course in 2D if you choose to. And I guess I would throw that to you, Adam, if you want to talk a little bit about kind of like the breakdown of 3D versus 2D in the course.
Yeah, I feel like because a lot of the times I use 3D, especially in the first character, is to help kind of like speed up my process. And sort of what I mean by that is, for example, at the start of the course, I do a really kind of like simple DAS pose to then draw over to start doing thumbnails. And for me, it's like, well, I can spend time drawing a figure if I want to, but it's way faster for me to just do a quick pose in DAS in 3D and then take a screenshot and start drawing over it in 2D. So a lot of the times I use 3D is to try and like speed up the workflow. And I always say that like I'm not necessarily the best painter or drawer. So sometimes I use 3D to kind of like help me in those areas as well. And like the perfect example of this character is I photo bashed pretty much the whole outfit, but I want to do the helmet and the vest in 3D because I just know the end result will look a lot better if I'm working over a base that kind of works in 3D. Like it's sort of like generating my own photo bash reference basically. So by all means, like you could take all the principles that I sort of talk about and apply them to just a 2D workflow. But the other benefit I've found in 3D, especially with the job I'm working on now, is that I can hand off this model as rough as it is to a character artist, and then everything is proportionally there in 3D space for them to start working from. So even though it's like a pretty rough concept model, it's still very valuable in a video game pipeline for sure. Likewise, if this was a film costume, I could hand off this helmet 3D model to the costume team, and then they could start to use that as a base to 3D print or start fabricating an actual helmet for someone to wear. So that's where I see the use of it as well as being more valuable in the pipeline for a production than just being a sort of one and done thing.
And so, speaking of, first of all, thank you very much for the question. It's a really great question, J.R. Barker, that I think a lot of people will be wondering. So thank you for asking it. Hopefully that answers your question. And speaking of 2D, though, Adam's sort of to go over the sort of like outline that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Part of what today's show would be comprised of as well would be Adam taking this design that you're seeing here. Do you think it's nearing time, Adam? Taking this design and then migrating that over into 2D to create sort of the finished piece. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting close. So basically, I've just been trying to find like. Originally, I was just going to copy this pose, but I've tried to do something that feels a little bit kind of different and a little bit interesting as well. And I'm getting pretty close now. I just got to do a few final kind of little tweaks. But what I'm going to do is I'm pretty much just going to screenshot this and then take it into Photoshop and just do a little kind of like a line drawing color draw over basically. And it's something I would do in a production to kind of like send off to a client of like, hey, here's what the back view looks like. Because all I've done up to this point is this front view and some turntables. So I can just give them a little bit more of a detailed back view, but just through line drawing and drawing over the render basically, as opposed to kind of like doing a whole nother back view from scratch like I did with this design. And I'll probably even grab some bits of this design and like photo bash them onto my render and draw over the top of them as well, like, you know, like this cable or a few other bits and pieces. It's much faster for me to just do that than try and, you know, model a cable in 3D. So I'm just going to use whatever technique kind of is the fastest to get to the end result as quickly as possible.
And speaking of using the fastest technique to get to the end result, I think it's great that you just screenshot your Blender viewport to use for that. That is the epitome of what you're talking about, but very efficient, you know, for what you're trying to do. And that's like what you're talking about in the course. Like it's not what they would teach you in a textbook, you know, but it is the thing that you are really using in a professional environment because it's all you need for what you're trying to create.
Totally. And I think that's also something that I think is really important is, you know, in a professional environment, these designs, they live on far beyond my involvement. You know, I generate the design and then it gets handed off. And that the end product is what ends up on the screen, be it a video game, be it a film. That this design is not the end product. So it's all about trying to get, you know, the design as readable as possible, so it can help inform, you know, the next person who's going to touch it down the pipeline, whether that's a character artist or whether that's, you know, a person making this costume for real for a film or something.
And so to anybody who's just joining the show, Grounded Costume Design is the name of the course. We're here with instructor Adam Middleton. That's Grounded Costume Design right there. We're looking at Adam's process live. He's doing a live demonstration of the techniques featured in the Grounded Costume Design course. And what we are doing today is actually like showing this course off for the first time. We're so excited to be able to show you guys this course. This is like, it's just, it's so much amazing work, and Adam's worked so hard on creating all this incredible stuff. Like, let me jump over to the course pictures here. It's just incredible stuff that you're seeing on screen, and the work really speaks for itself. But I think let's let the trailer speak for itself. Let's show that off one more time, and we're gonna show that trailer. We're gonna jump back into the live demo with Adam in just a second. So once again, Adam is here live on the stream. So make sure you ask any questions you want to know about the course, about his workflows, about the things that are featured in the course or not featured in the course, or professional work that he's done. Anything you want to know, post that in the YouTube chat, and we will be answering questions all throughout. So let's jump into that trailer, and we'll be right back with more show.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, Last Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at learnsquared.com.
Guys, Grounded Costume Design is available now for pre-order on the Learn Squared site. You can go check that out for yourselves. The course launches on December 20th. So get your pre-orders in, secure your spots in the course, and start creating your own grounded costumes coming up very soon. What we're doing on today's show is a live demonstration with Adam. So let's jump over to the remote feed here and check out what Adam's creating. Adam Middleton, the instructor of the course, is here answering questions, showing off the techniques from the course. So make sure that whatever questions you want to know, that you get those in the chat. This is your chance to ask whatever you are interested in knowing. And again, thank you to everybody who has asked all of the excellent questions so far on today's stream. We appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much. All right, so Adam, you want to maybe take us through kind of what you're doing right now? What's sort of the process?
So I'm pretty much just, I've kind of like pretty happy with this pose now, and you can see I've got this viewport open on a camera, which is this camera kind of back here. And it's just like, so I'm just trying to like, I'm just finessing this view now basically, because before I kind of like take a screenshot and move into 2D. But you can see like, it's not like, you know, the hand isn't really like, it's all just designed basically for this viewport. I'm not trying to do like a really like perfect model all the way around. Like if you put the camera around the side, it would probably look a bit horrific with all the clipping and things going on, and like the arms looks kind of weird because of the rig. But from this view, it looks good enough, and I'll be able to kind of like tidy up some of the weird wobbliness and things in Photoshop once I do the draw over. So I've just put this like little background in as well, kind of just to give me like an infinity style background, and then I can just basically, I'm probably pretty ready now actually, and I'm just all I'm going to do is screenshot this and move into the 2D and start doing a little bit of a draw over basically.
All right. And what are you using for screenshotting, by the way?
I just use Windows Alt S.
Oh, it's a true screenshot. Okay.
Normally I've got my other monitor, which is this is only a 1080p screen, so normally I'd screenshot it on my other monitor, get it a bit higher res, but this will do for now. This will do.
And so, as a reminder, what Adam's creating on the show, the full process video of what's being created on today's show is going to be added into the course, actually, as a piece of bonus content. So you'll be able to see the entire process video of, he's actually recording it locally on his computer, so you can watch everything without any graphics over it or without us cutting away to anything. And Adam, this is the first time we've ever done this, is that Adam's actually going to be recording narration, like specially made for this video after the show, which will be added to the main part of the course, like the main learning section of the course. So you guys will actually have a new section of the course that doesn't even exist yet. You're watching it being created now, which is going to be about how to create this back view for the pilot and this new type of deliverable that he's showing off. As you can see, I'll show the course images again here. There's a whole lot of different types of deliverables. These graphic sheets, there was like a key art frame that showed earlier. There's front and back views of the characters in 2D. There are also 3D turntables. And then what is being created on today's show is going to be a whole nother type of deliverable, which is sort of a more graphical, more line art style draw over of one of the renders. So you guys when you take this course, you will be getting a whole lot of different professional techniques that you'll be able to use in whatever project you want to create, which again, these are things that will most certainly help you if you are going, and want to integrate yourself into like a professional pipeline, or these are also just things that will look really, really good on your portfolio. So whichever of those things sounds best to you, you kind of get it all in here.
I'm just trying to figure out if I want this pipe in the design or not. Part of me thinks it's too distracting, but part of me likes it. So I'm just seeing if I can make it work, and if I can't, then I'll leave it.
I'm just fascinated by watching the pipe sort of like move around. The course goes into so many different kind of like sort of delivery methods and things that you cover in here. Is there any in particular? And I want to tie this into someone's question too, that can I find it? Oh, GT. Thank you, GT, for the question. GT is saying, Adam, what's your favorite design that you've done in the last 5 to 10 years? And I would append that by also saying, like, is there a particular type of deliverable, like style of deliverable that you prefer to make?
That's a good question. It's hard to pick. I'm very proud of the stuff that I've done for the Last Sentinel game that's in the trailer. In particular, that robot design, I think's one of my kind of favorites. But I also really like the characters that I've done for this course. I feel like there's something kind of extra special about doing work that's for yourself as well. And I don't get an opportunity to do that a lot, especially like to be able to spend this much time on something as well, because usually personal work is kind of has to be done quickly, because I don't really have the luxury of like, the last thing I kind of want to do at the end of the day is more work, especially when I've been doing costume design all day for my job. So the course was a really awesome excuse to do some work for myself, and I really like the characters I've done. I was actually really nervous about starting this course because I didn't really know what to do, and I feel like the hardest brief is always an open brief, and that's kind of what I had. So I had to create a brief for myself, and I sort of just ended up doing stuff that I love anyway. Like I love aviation, I love the snow, so I've kind of like, and I love kind of, you know, wintry, like big thick costumes and things as well. So I've tried to just do everything that I like and put it in this course, and that's kind of what you're looking at. So, but yeah, in terms of like actual professional work, definitely the stuff that's obviously shown in that Last Sentinel trailer. That I'm also, you know, very kind of like honored to worked on the latest Avatar movie and contribute designs for like Jake Sully and things on that project. So yeah, it's really hard to pick, but I love all the jobs that I've worked on and or been fortunate enough to be involved with. Yeah, I feel very lucky.
There you go, and thank you to GT for the excellent question. Yeah, like thank you to everybody for the questions. I mean, we're getting nearer to the end of the show here, so I just want to make a reminder that like anybody who wants to ask any more questions, make sure that you post them in the chat so that we'll have time to kind of like include them on the show and answer them for you. But yeah, the amount of amazing questions that have been asked on here is incredible, and again, thank you to everybody for being a part of the show. And so what we have here is Adam has switched over now to Photoshop and is bringing in that screenshot from the Blender view into Photoshop, and it looks like you are carrying over the actual like frame elements from your finished costumes.
Yeah, so that's one thing I do a lot, especially if I'm working on the same project, is I like to have like quite a consistent template. I feel like it always just looks nicer when you're sending work to a client that has like a similar look to it. So you'll see for this course, I kind of just gave everything this like sort of off-white border on all these designs. And then I've got like, I think it's always very important to like clearly label kind of what the design is, your name, and like I get into this in the course, but like a file number as well. So it's very easy for a client to refer back to like earlier versions of a design potentially as well. And you can see when I've brought this across, there's like a film grain and things as well as like a color LUT across the whole thing. And that's basically just to like tie it across to this design. So I just pulled, you can see I've got these layers all selected. I literally just pulled them. I created the same document, the same size by just selecting this one and doing a new one, and then just dragged everything across. But I feel like that helps me. I like to get all that stuff in early because then I've got like a nice benchmark and I know what the final image is going to be. Like I've already got the film grain and I've already got kind of everything else in there. So that's usually what I like to do. And you'll see me kind of do that through the process as well.
We have also on here Howie asking a great question. So how would you describe kind of like the difference in the responsibilities of somebody who's doing these kinds of like grounded costume designs with these very sort of finished images and even key art from what a concept artist does?
I think it's pretty, I would say it's the same. I think it's the job. I would say this is concept design. It's just obviously, is that what the question was? Like what the difference between this and concept design is?
Yeah, what is the difference between a concept artist and what you do as a costume designer?
I would say, I think it's the same. It's literally the same job. I just think sometimes when people think of concept art, all they think of is like what's on the front page of ArtStation. And usually that's like the most flashy, you know, it's usually that's key art or keyframes or really like high-end polished stuff. And sometimes it's not all like that. Sometimes like I would say working concept art often can look a little bit different, but I like to make sure that anything I kind of present still looks really good. And well, I think good in my eyes. You guys might think it looks terrible, but I think like even like a character design like this, it's not necessarily as like flashy as a cinematic keyframe, but I always like to try and make the image itself look really good. And at the end of the day, the purpose of this is to kind of like showcase this design. It's not about trying to make something look as cinematic as possible, but the job is still I'm still a designer. It's still a design job at the end of the day, you know?
And so there you go. I hope that answers your question to Howie. Yeah, I think that what's really interesting about, we talked about it earlier in the show. What's really interesting about the course is that you're showing students how to really make sure that they keep the objective in mind when they're creating their deliverables. Like that you want to make sure that you are showing the costume in a way that properly shows the costume. That there's a lot of poses and a lot of camera angles that might look cool in terms of just like looking cool, but they might not actually be the best angles to try to accomplish what you're trying to show. And when you're working on a project, it's always important to keep what you're really sort of like trying to do in mind. And as you can see from all the incredible images of Adam's work from the course, from all the past work from the Last Sentinel as well, that that you're able to still do both and create incredible images that also show off the costumes. So we have some drawings in here. First of all, saying just bought the course. Let's get some emojis in there. That's amazing. I wish I had like a cheer sound effect. We gotta get somebody on that. We need a cheer sound effect. But thank you so much for picking up the course, and we're so excited to see what you create. I'm gonna get some more of my my emojis in there, and some drawings also saying in there, in addition to having just bought the course, they said, I also realized that my icon on YouTube is a character design I did back in school that was inspired by Adam's major design. Wow, that is you're coming full circle here, and that you from learning from Adam to learning a lot more from Adam. Now you're gonna be now you're going full circle. That's amazing, and we're really excited to see what you create. Everybody who takes the course, again, reminder, like some drawings did, make sure that if you pre-order the course during the show, that you post in the chat. We would love to celebrate you on the stream. And everybody who takes the course, keep us updated on what you're creating. Make sure that you guys post your homework in the Learn Squared website, and share it with your fellow students and also with us. A lot of times we will highlight student work either on the Patreon or on our social media, and show that off through our channels, and also never discount the fact that having feedback from other students who are in the same boat as you and taking the course as well, that's something that you might that you certainly will find a lot of value in. So make sure you guys share with your fellow students. And again, thank you to some drawings for jumping into the course. We're so excited for you. LVLY has another question here. Do you use only photo bash backgrounds, or do you sometimes incorporate 3D scenes into your images? And
this one here's a 3D scene that I did for this character, and then this one is a bit more of a photo bash. So both methods are used in the course, and then this one is just like a simple plane that I've stretched up and turned into like an infinity background. So there's kind of like those are the three main ones that I would do. Sometimes I'll just do a design on white as well, but I feel like this is a pretty close kind of analogy to that.
And there you go. Yeah, again, the course really gives you a look into like how to achieve all of these different methods to create these incredible costumes and incredible pieces of art. And it's interesting because the way that that we talk about it in the course, because it's like an sort of like more accessible way to discuss it. We talk about the 2D one as being like more beginner friendly and the 3D one being like more advanced. But that's more like in terms of like how approachable it is for somebody who's never used 3D before. But that's not to say that like one is lesser than the other. Like the 2D designs and the 3D designs, as you guys can see from the finished course images, are both of the like totally the same level of detail and same level of quality, and they're both really used on these like top level productions. So like it's incredible to see like somebody teaching this stuff in a way that's like you can get this same type of result from either one, and it's really a matter of like what you're trying to do with it. Do you want to show multiple angles? Maybe then it would be easier to do 3D. Are you trying to do it faster? Then maybe you would want to get like some photo bash elements and stuff instead. It's what you're trying to do with it, what your end result is intended to be, and like how much time you have. And this type of design that Adam's doing right now as well is another example of that, where Adam was talking earlier about how this design often, this type of finishing method for the design is often inspired by, specifically by the sort of like time frame that he's working with on a project. And can you sort of talk us through, Adam, kind of like what the process is here now that you've kind of jumped into it?
Yeah, I hope you guys don't feel too sick from me spinning the canvas around so much. It's just this is the way I do it. But basically, like this is kind of like what I would do if I had sort of done this design and it had been approved, or the client liked the direction, and then they were like, "Hey, we just want to see just give us just give us a view of the back view, basically." But it didn't. If I didn't have enough time to do a full kind of like rendered out version, I would just do something like this, where I basically just like take a screen grab, and then I'm kind of just like going around with almost like a black pen, just sort of like outlining things. And obviously you can see, because this is like a bit of a messy kind of 3D render, it's like there's a few bits that are kind of flipping, and so I'm just going to try and tidy a little bit of that stuff up. I'll put a bit of like damage and things across it. I really want to add in some of the decals and stuff that are missing from this view. Like you can see on this design, there's a lot of stuff going on, like on the helmet and things, which doesn't exist in the 3D. So, I'd like to add some of that stuff up here, maybe some graphics on the back, tidy up like why this looks a little bit flat and things as well. And then, just like put some definition back into the arms and some of the fabric. And that's all it is, really. It's not going to be like a really kind of polished quote unquote piece, but I would say it's very much in line with like what concept art kind of can look like on a day-to-day basis, where the character team needs the design, so just give us a draw over and we'll pass it along. Because sometimes like a front view like this that's kind of fully rendered, and a back view that's sort of a render with line art over the top of it, that's plenty for a character artist to go off. They can extrapolate a lot of the stuff that's on the back from the details and the textures from the front view. So they sort of work hand in hand.
There you go. And so again, this video, the process video of everything that you guys have been seeing on the stream, uninterrupted in full resolution, is going to be added to the course in the bonus content. And Adam's actually going to be recording custom narration for over the process videos of this to be added into the main part of the course as well, because this is actually going to be added as one of the like an extra finishing method to the course, which is incredible that we're still adding stuff to the course, even even after the trailer and everything. And again, thank you to Adam for really wanting to go that extra mile and add this extra piece.
I think it's worth just trying to showcase like as many ways that we work, live in the industry, and not everything is always. I mean, this is not as the best example, but the banner image of them both standing in the snow together, like not everything is always kind of like as exciting as a piece like that. Sometimes it is just more about the design and trying to communicate the design, and that's very much what this piece here is trying to kind of showcase.
MW Vanderwalt saying, I just opened up my Ghost in the Shell art book to look at the major design. There you go. We love that enthusiasm. Good stuff. And LVLY saying, thank you for the responses. And thank you for being a part of the stream. Again, everybody's asking great questions. Thank you guys for the questions. Make sure anybody else who wants to ask, anybody who wants to know anything about Adam's art, about the processes that you're seeing, about the course itself, make sure you get those questions in the YouTube chat below. We are here to answer whatever you guys want to know. For anybody who's just joining the show, we are doing a live demonstration with instructor Adam Middleton, showing off the techniques from his brand new course, Grounded Costume Design. So this is all live stuff, unscripted, not pre-recorded or anything. Everything that Adam's doing is totally live, and you've been seeing a process that's actually going to get added to the course itself later. So this is pretty incredible. You guys can pre-order Grounded Costume Design on the Learn Squared site right now. If you go to learnsquared.com, You'll see that as the first the course on there. Go check that out. Get your spot secured in Grounded Costume Design and start creating some amazing costumes starting on December 20th. So you can get your pre-orders in now, and it's less than 2 weeks until the course actually drops. So this is super exciting. Before we jump into the rest of the show, we're going to go to that course trailer one more time. So let's go take a look at that course trailer for anybody who might have just joined, might not know too much about what the course is all about. Let's go take a look at that right now, and we'll be back with more demo in just a sec.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, LAST Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at learnsquared.com.
Guys, Grounded Costume Design is available for pre-order on the Learn Squared site right now. You can see the course images above. You just saw the trailer there. This is an amazing course. The level of work that is on display in this course is just absolutely at the top. It's so incredible, the stuff that is created. And we have the instructor on the stream doing a demo for us. So it was better than that. We got a new course. We got the instructor here showing us how to do the things that are in the course. We have, answering questions, all that stuff. Let's go back over to that remote feed. We're going to take a look at Adam's computer here. We're doing a multinational stream. We're coming. The stream is broadcasting from LA, and we're remoting into Adam's computer in New Zealand. That is love that, crossing the ocean there.
That's the one. Look, here we go. I can't resist. I'm putting some scratches on this cylinder. I can't resist weathering it a little bit.
There you go. There's a part in the course where you're like watching the process that you were doing, and you're saying like, oh, yep. Yeah, you can never have enough scratches. Like you're just watching a section where you're adding as many scratches as you can. It's great. Ooh, we have. Oh, go ahead.
Go. I was just gonna say, like, this is not like necessarily like really polished. It can be quite rough, but it's still communicating the design. I think I feel like that's what it always comes down to at the end of the day. Is like, is the design legible? Is it readable? And like that's very much like what my job's all about. It's not always about like, am I doing like a beautiful kind of comic line drawing here? That's kind of not the purpose. It's the purpose is slightly different. So I think sometimes that's like can be quite refreshing to see because not everyone gets to see sort of like what every day in the trenches concept art looks like, and sometimes it's not the pretty stuff you see on ArtStation. Sometimes it can look a little bit kind of grungy and a little bit more realistic, and this is kind of like, this is concept to me. This is like what concept art really is like true design.
Grungy and realistic is prettier, if you ask me.
Yeah, I like it too.
we have Howie saying, definitely going to buy it. Amazing. Thank you, Howie, for the enthusiasm. Will there be, oh, interesting. Will there be a cloth simulation or a sculpt section included in the course?
There's no cloth simulation per se. It's kind of like what I talked about in an earlier question. There is a little bit of like cloth brushing that I do in ZBrush and in Blender, but in terms of like, do I do this design in T-pose with all the clothing on it and then simulate the wrinkles? No, I don't do that. It's a little bit more of like a faster process than that probably. All the wrinkles and things either come through kind of like what's already on the asset potentially, or what I sculpt into it in ZBrush, or what I use as photo elements like in this design here. So no simulating or anything like that. So I felt like I wanted to try and keep it kind of as accessible as possible, and because that's not really something that I actually do in my day-to-day workflow, it wasn't something that I wanted to add to the course just for the kind of sake of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, it covers cloth in terms of what you need it to be for the costume that you're creating,
Totally.
but just not necessarily the simulating of it. And then sculpting is a part of the course as well, which you show how to, sculpting again is like you choose to use, I think you're using ZBrush for it, but then like Blender or whatever, people can use whichever thing they prefer.
Yeah, totally.
MW Vanderwall, talking about the multinational, international nature of today's stream. MW Vanderwall moved to Japan a year ago. Welcome from Japan. Konnichiwa. We have, so maybe you can let us know how is Japan looking? Does it resemble Adam's new project, the Last Sentinel? Which let's go take another look at over there. Last Sentinel is takes place in like a future, I believe, a future Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. That's just an excuse for me to show pictures from Last Sentinel. I think we all like looking at pictures from it. Amazing. MW Vanderwall moved to Japan a year ago, but from South Africa. There you go. That's a big move.
Wow.
And anybody else who, wherever you're watching from, post that in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear it. So we have sections from the previous design here that you're using essentially as like a artistic reference. Can you talk us through like bringing in those little sections? Like, are you using them more for photo bash or more to do things by hand?
I was just flipping back so much, and I want to like basically like the idea is that this back kind of back apparatus is the same as what this guy's wearing. So I want to just kind of like translate some of the details that were missed in the 3D basically, and just like draw them in 2D. And it's just easier for me to have it kind of here to look at than it is to kind of like switch back and forth. You can see I've got some differences, like this one, we've obviously got like a cylinder on the side and that doesn't exist here. So a few of the elements have kind of changed, but I just wanted to kind of like reference some of the design details underneath here and make sure those were kind of coming across in the 2D nicely. But you'll see in the course, I also like, I cannibalize my own designs quite a lot, especially obviously for this, because it's the same project. So, like elements that I had already done for this character, like for example, this kind of like piece of technology that's on her costume, I use that again on this guy as well. So there's kind of like no point redoing it because it already exists and I want it to be the same. So in that sense, I just try and use as much as I've got. And then you'll see when I'm doing this design, I'm like actually like, I'm literally just like lassoing pieces from this design and pasting them into this one to make it work. So for me, it was all about making sure these two characters felt like they were in the same world. And an easy way to do that is use elements from one design on the other one.
There you go. That's another, yeah, that is heavily featured in the course. And another thing that's like, you mentioned it before when you were talking about using like a pair of jeans or whatever, where it's like, I could make my own pair of jeans, or I could just like take one, like use one that is a previously built version. And the same thing exists when you've already made your own version of something, where it's like, if they're supposed to be in the same universe, like why not just use a piece of what I already made? And yeah, that's definitely going to be something that you guys will that's going to speed up your design processes a lot when you take the course. We have Jacob Earl saying, Wellington, New Zealand, and awesome stuff, Adam. Are you guys neighbors, possibly?
And I know Jacob. Jacob does awesome stuff, and he actually worked on Ghost in the Shell with us for a small time. So shout out, Jacob.
Welcome, Jacob. And LVLY from Poland, and it is 5 a.m. right now. Now, that is some real dedication. We really appreciate you, LVLY. Thank you for staying up or waking up early or staying up late. Either way.
That's pretty early to stay. That's if you stayed up till 5, that's pretty committed.
Yeah, that's either way, it's pretty impressive. I can't wake up early to save my life. Amazing stuff. Thank you to everybody who's been joining the show here, and for taking part in today's stream. There's a little emoji button on YouTube that has like the heart or the celebrate thing. Post some hearts or whatever emoji you choose. I'm gonna post a shocked face just because I feel like it. Just show some love for Adam creating this incredible course and doing this amazing demo for us on today's show. Show some love for yourselves being in today's show, watching the show, participating in the show, to everybody who asked these great questions. Yeah, thank you to everybody who has been a part of this. It's really been so much fun, and we've been having a great time. So let's jump into the trailer one more time here before we head out, and then after that we'll kind of do some last pieces on the stream here. So just before we jump into the trailer, as we've been doing, just for anyone who's possibly just joining the stream, we are doing a live demonstration. Adam Middleton, the instructor of our newest course, Grounded Costume Design, is here doing a live demo of the techniques in his brand new course. You can actually pre-order the course right now. We are, first announcing it today. This is our big public announcement of the course, and it is now officially available for pre-order on the Learn Squared site. The course comes out December 20th, so get your costume ideas ready, and you're going to be creating some incredible stuff. So go head over to the Learn Squared site and pick it up for yourself. Do something good for yourself this holiday season, guys. Learn a new skill. And let's jump into that course trailer so you can find out all about the new course before we jump in and close the show out.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, LAST Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at LearnSquared.com.
Guys, Grounded Costume Design is available for pre-order now on the Learn Squared website. You can see above the slideshow of amazing final images that came from the course. This course is packed full of stuff. There's so many different techniques, so many different types of deliverables that you're creating in the course, and every single image and piece that Adam's created for this course is gorgeous. So Adam Middleton, the instructor of the course, is here doing a live demonstration of the techniques featured in the course and answering your questions and all that. So if you have any absolute last minute questions that you want to know about Adam's process, workflows, about the course itself, about his art, make sure you ask those in the YouTube chat. We would love to get to those. But we're going to jump over to Adam's screen here and take a look at the image that he's making right now. So let's go take another look at what Adam's making. And Adam, maybe take us through what you're working on.
This is like, I guess, kind of like what I was just talking about, where like there's no point me re-importing this as a PNG or creating the texture. So I kind of will just like drag it across and like literally just use it one for one, because it's kind of like what I want already. So sometimes there's no point like necessarily what I would say like reinventing the wheel or trying to make life harder than it needs to be. Sometimes, you know, you have what you need right in front of you already. So especially if, you know, the designs exist in the same world like these ones do, and you want them to feel similar, it makes sense to kind of reuse the same assets, I think.
There you go, pulling stuff in from one design. It's like you plan this out, Adam.
Yeah, here's one I prepared earlier. That one.
Good stuff. This has been an incredible demonstration of techniques, and you guys are getting so much valuable. I hope you're taking notes, everybody at home. There's so much valuable knowledge from the stream itself. But if you want to learn a whole slew of amazing techniques from front to back, from being an absolute beginner to being able to create some incredible costume designs, make sure you check out the course itself on the Learn Squared site. Just to give you some little factoids about the course, it's 5 lessons full of different techniques. So I'm going to give you a little kind of rundown of what happens throughout the course, maybe give you a little preview of what it's all about. So in the first lesson, you guys are going to be planning out your costumes. Adam goes into a lot of the kind of like philosophy of costume design, how to create a costume that is truly connects with someone or kind of identifies who that character is through their costume. What you have during that same lesson is sort of doing all of the planning aspects. So like figuring out what that costume is going to be, going into DAZ and just creating a quick base for your character so you can then sketch on top of it, and then creating a whole series of sketches. I think you do, Adam, maybe like something like 10 sketches for your character, just kind of like really working through what you think is going to be the coolest design for your first character, this one that we're seeing here. And what happens at that point, once you've sketched the idea, you move into lesson 2, where you're going to be building the character in 2D. So you go into sort of a section about how to properly utilize photo bashing techniques, kind of building a base of that character using photo bashing, creating extra texture and details, and weathering the costume, adding graphics, all the different kinds of things that are really going to sweeten the costume and make it look realistic. And then moving on to the next lesson, any elements that you feel you would like to make like a bespoke little 3D addition to the costume. So for example, on this costume, that incorporated the vest that the pilot is wearing, as well as the helmet. Those were elements that Adam chose to do in 3D for this particular character. So what's really cool is that during that second lesson, he teaches you how to make everything that's going to be underneath before creating those 3D elements. So as you can see in that little image on the top right of the pilot's top, that is what is actually underneath the vest that she's wearing. And so he fully designs that in the course and shows you how to do that and why you would want to do that. For example, when the character needs a costume change, or when the person who's designing the costume needs to figure out what goes underneath that, because it, you know, of course, if it's really manufactured, there needs to be something. You know, figuring out those kinds of things are really important. So you're kind of figuring out the costume in multiple layers, which is just really, really cool to see. After that, you create some 3D elements for the costume. And Adam, of course, goes into some of the basic Blender techniques that he uses, goes into like kind of when to use 3D for a costume or even why to use it if you possibly are more interested in 2D, like kind of giving you the understanding of how 3D might help you. And then, of course, integrating 3D elements and making them feel just as weathered and lived in as 2D elements, and sort of removing kind of like the 3D look of those renders. In the next lesson, lesson 4, it goes into doing what we call the advanced character, which is the male engineer character, which is built fully in 3D. So even the base of the character with all of his clothes and everything modeled on him is in 3D. And what that allows you to do is create, like, very easily create multiple angles of the character and things like that, create turntables. So it allows you a lot of flexibility with what you're creating. And then, of course, you kind of take that into 2D and finalize it with all those techniques that you learn throughout the course. The final lesson of the course helps you to create all of these amazing different deliverables that you see. I'm going to switch over to the view of some of the course images. So how to create some of these incredible deliverables, like final portfolio-ready images, such as these graphic sheets that really go into all the little nooks and crannies of the costume and zoom in on the little graphics and things that are on there, how to do these different views, how to create your turntables, how to create the group shot of the characters together in a scene, just really kind of like round out everything. So it's throughout these 5 lessons, you're getting a truly comprehensive look at the costume design workflow and process. And I think that you guys are, for anybody who wants to move into a professional setting and is interested in kind of like, understanding how to navigate that world and what skills they might need to have and what kinds of workflows they might want to use, this is going to be an incredibly valuable resource for you. And anybody who maybe you just want to do this as a hobby or want to create some great portfolio pieces because you want to create some awesome art, as you can see here, this is going to give you a whole slew of different kinds of images for your portfolio, from full 3D scenes, 3D images of the characters in a turntable, to 2D finished images of the individual characters front and back, to group shots, to graphics pages, and all that stuff. So really kind of whatever your interest level is or whatever your sort of professional ambitions are, this is going to be an extremely valuable resource. And again, if you want to pick up the course, you can pre-order right now on the Learn Squared site, learnsquared.com. Go check it out and secure your spot. It comes out, Grounded Costume Design is coming out on December 20th. So having said all that, many things, sorry to take the spotlight away from our interview, Adam, but how's the design going?
Yeah, definitely. We're getting close. Like the thing with like something like this is it doesn't have to be perfectly polished either. So you can see, like, with this view here, there's an indication of some sort of this design carrying around like the back of the sleeve. And for me, when I was doing it, I was always kind of like imagining this rib texture, and now it's like, now I have to like figure out how that, I had never obviously resolved how that works at the back. So that's obviously not really good enough when you're kind of like handing off a design to someone. You want to be able to have the whole thing resolved. So it's at this point where I'd kind of like resolve how that stuff works at the back. And you can see I'm trying to bring in like similar shape language that I've used on the front, like these kind of like little kind of reflective strips at the top of like where the bicep is. I'm kind of like, oh, I want to add those in at the back of the arm as well. So the whole costume feels like cohesive no matter what angle you're looking at it from.
That's awesome. And the visual style of this method has its own flair and is also a really cool finishing method as well. It, again, like for people who want to kind of like build out their portfolio and create a lot of awesome stuff, like this course is going to give you the resources to do so many different kinds of awesome deliverables and portfolio pieces. And something MW Vanderwalt is mentioning as well is a great point, that you were talking about reusing the same assets from previous costumes or previous angles of the costume in order to kind of speed up the process for convenience sake. But it also, MW Vanderwalt saying that that also helps with cohesiveness and to really make it feel like they're in the same world and exist in the same space. That's definitely true. Like that type of stuff, it seems to be a big concern in what you're trying to do, and making sure that one of the things you mentioned in the course is like to really try to make sure, for example, that the back of a costume feels like it is part of the same costume as the front, which can sometimes be difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think I talk about it in the course that I often think that the back views are sort of forgotten about when it comes to designing characters. Like the hero view you normally see of a character design is like the front view like this, right? But the more that I've worked in this industry, and especially working in video games, the back of the character is sometimes as important, if not more, than the front. Because if you're working on, like a third person game, for example, like if you take like Uncharted, most of the time playing that game, you're actually looking at the back of Nathan Drake. So it's actually really important, like, in terms of screen time, the back of his costume is getting more screen time, more likely than the front is. So it requires a lot of work, and it isn't something to just be kind of like forgotten about and thrown together at the last minute. So that's something that I wanted to kind of stress with this course as well, is like really trying to make the back view as interesting, if not more interesting, than the front view, and also making sure that both the front and the back tie together visually.
It's just an amazing process that we've been able to see over the course of this, 2 hours of the stream. Like working on the character in Blender, getting it posed and, creating a new pose that you're going to use, bringing that over into Photoshop, creating this finishing method. It's so cool to be able to see this live. And again, we got a lot of love in the chat. Thank you to MJ Vanderwalt, to LVLY for the love, and thank you to everybody who posted all those emojis in there as well. A lot of love in the chat for just appreciation for this incredible work that Adam is doing for us on the stream. And yeah, again, if you guys want to see kind of like the full comprehensive process and really kind of learn and integrate all these methods into your own personal workflow, including, as we always do on Learn Squared courses, like very interactive challenges and breaks throughout the course to allow you time to really, internalize all of these things that he's teaching, and do homework and sort of bit by bit start creating your own costume. Then make sure you pick up the course for yourself. This has been an incredible stream. Thank you so much, Adam, for being a part of it and for creating this amazing course.
Oh, not at all. I can't wait to finish this piece off and add it to the course, but also, to have the course go out and be live and see what everyone who does the course, takes away from it. And I can't wait to see what, you guys all do with the course and with your own work. So that's what's getting me really excited. So that's kind of like the next evolution, I guess, is what everyone else brings to it by doing their own work. And yeah, I can't wait to see that.
There you go, guys. Submit your homework. Make Adam proud.
Yeah.
Bring a tear to his eye.
I can't wait.
So guys, once again, Grounded Costume Design is available for pre-order on the Learn Squared site right now. You can find that at learnsquared.com. We'll put a link in the chat as well one more time for anybody who wants to just click straight through to the link. This has been a live demonstration of the techniques of the course. Thank you so much to everybody who asked questions, who's posted things, who's posted positivity in the stream, or just showed excitement in general by watching the show. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you want to see the full process video of what Adam has been creating on today's program, you can see the full res uninterrupted process video of what he's been doing. When you get the course, it'll be in the bonus content of the course, and there will also be a narrated version of that process video where he does, course style full narration, which we're going to be adding to the main part of the course as well, as like an extra finishing method you could do to show off your costumes. So make sure you guys pick that up. Once again, the course is coming out on December 20th. So secure your spots now, get your pre-orders in, and we can't wait to see you in that course. I want to give a shout out to a bunch of people who have been on the stream today, so please indulge me for a second, guys. George Borko, thank you so much. GT, LVLY, thank you for the great questions. Artist Future as well. Loken Penny, Car Fox, Fasalia Lafia, some drawings. So many great questions on the show from everybody. Mauricio Kale, Thomas Oates, Laksa. We have MW Vanderwalt, JR Barker, Howie. Thank you so much, guys. Jacob Earl. We have like a lot of positivity, a lot of love. Artist Future saying thank you for your time and a great stream. LVLY saying thank you for the announcement. Thank you to everybody who's been a part of the show. And once again, most of all, thanks to Adam.
Thank you guys for joining. And yeah, I've had a blast putting this together, and now I can't wait for it to go out there and you guys to watch it, and hopefully it'll make sense, and you guys get to create some really cool pieces of work from it.
And with that, let's close it out on that course trailer. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Learn to create incredible movie-ready costumes for your next project. Costumes aren't just clothes. They're an extension of a character's identity. Our newest instructor, Adam Middleton, certainly understands that. He's created costumes for some of the most important projects in the entertainment industry, including Avatar: The Way of Water, Dune, Foundation, and Ghost in the Shell, as well as the recently announced game, Last Sentinel. In his brand new Learn Squared course, Adam will take you under his wing, sharing all the techniques he uses to make grounded and fully realistic costume concepts. You'll create a set of 2 characters, each utilizing a different artistic discipline and professional workflow to achieve its look. Adam will show you his tricks to make a costume feel lived in, becoming battered or frayed in convincing ways. Grounded costume design means creating something that not only looks cool, but could really be built. Adam will demonstrate how to turn out several different deliverables, including front and back hero views of a character, group shots of your characters posed in a scene, solo and combination 3D turntables, even graphics pages to show each tiny decal. And best of all, this course is specifically designed to guide you from the simplest techniques to more advanced workflows, so even beginners can follow along without missing a beat. Whether you want to create personal projects or get a job in the industry, don't wait. Start creating your own grounded costumes today. Sign up and begin your journey at LearnSquared.com.